From the ashes of the old world, in the shadows of the last great war, the world was shattered by magic. Plains became deserts, mountains crumbled into the sea. Witches and heretics are burned in the street, lined with oathbreakers hung by their necks. Where once was law, order, empire, now only hardship and savagery remain. To the east, in Highport, a weary king rules an ungrateful people. To the west, his brother keeps swords sheathed and words of rebellion at bay. To the north and south, savage elves and cowardly dwarves openly practice arcane arts, shrouded by leaf and stone. In a time when a man's worth is measured by his word, when might makes right, and a quick death is a mercy, only those more foolish than brave venture far from home. The age of peace and prosperity has ended. In its place, only strife.
Why, hello there, everybody, and welcome to Age of Strife. How are you guys doing today?
Hey, doing pretty good.
I'm worried, but okay.
Well, you should always be worried. That's an appropriate emotion to be feeling.
Yeah.
What have you guys been up to? It's been 2 weeks since we last played.
For me, I guess there's been a lot of stuff. I watched a lot more basketball. Koibu made it to the Sweet 16 and lost in a pretty painful way.
How painful are we talking?
Well, they were down 3 with like 30 seconds left, and they had like 3 different opportunities to make a 3 on that possession because they kept getting the offensive rebound, and on the last one they didn't even shoot, and the time just ran out.
Oh god, that's pretty brutal.
Yeah, it was not good. But after that, I haven't watched basketball since then.
Your team gets wiped and you just throw in the towel.
Yeah, it just feels too bad to watch after that.
I hear ya. What about you, Tyler? What's been going on?
In the last 2 weeks, let's see here. I've been experimenting, trying to make fried rice. We talked about that a little bit, but it's a learning process. We'll say I'm improving slowly, and there is room for improvement.
It's a healthy attitude to have.
Yep. Just going to keep trying. I've got a whole lot of rice and a whole lot of oil, and we're gonna keep doing this until it is not going to kill me. But
hopefully it doesn't ever kill you.
Right. Other than that, let's see here. I got Total War Warhammer, and I've been having fun with that. So.
Do you have a favorite race?
It's tough because the best I've done so far is with the dwarves, but I really like the vampire gameplay, the vampire counts. They're interesting. Zombies and then they're not gargoyles. They're, what are they called? I don't know much about not 40k, Warhammer Fantasy. So it's Vargeist, I think they're called. They're like vampires that have wings and stuff.
Ooh.
Yep.
Well, I never got to play as the Vampire Lords, but they've always looked interesting. You use Chaos, or what is it that you have that like spreads on the map? Chaos Winds or something?
Vampiric Corruption.
That's it. How does that... Okay, so I only ever played from the human's perspective. So what does that benefit you? How does that benefit you?
If you don't move in Vampiric Corruption, your armies suffer attrition. So
okay. I thought it was going to become something completely different.
Nope. And I think enemy units that are non-vampire units that go in it suffer attrition. And also, it's tied into their I forget what it's called, but public order, their happiness.
Right.
So if you don't have high enough vampiric corruption, all your people get upset and mutiny.
Vampires complaining to the Vampire High Council that the world's not corrupt enough. Excellent. All right. Well, let's recap what happened last week. Or last session, because that was actually a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. What happened there, Luther?
Yeah, Luther.
Things happened. I'm not really sure how we got to this idea, but the
No idea.
main thing that happened is Luther decided he wanted to go rob some crypts for old time's sake, I guess. And so we went down to Rosebloom, snuck in at night. Luther was basically dragging Arthur against his will, but it was fine. We went into a new crypt this time, one that we hadn't been into before, and it turned out to be a Wyatt crypt, I believe. And turned out there were lots of booby traps in there. So some rocks fell and Luther almost died.
Yeah.
He got a lot of loot.
Oh, yeah.
Had to jump over a pit. And then he was trying to pick a lock and he got stabbed in the hand with a needle and poisoned. So immediately he sprinted out and just got on his horse and we started riding back to Wadsworth. But apparently Luther wasn't smart enough to realize that, wait, there's snow on the ground and they can follow the tracks. So, yeah. We were riding back. We had to camp in the middle of the night. Some guard.
I think we went further south first, and then when the guards found us, we went back up north.
I think you guys went straight north.
Did we?
Yeah.
I
thought I was gonna die from poison or something.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, we need to get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
We were going back towards Wadsworth. Made camp for the night because Luther's like really messed up from the poison. I didn't die, but it was really bad. So we were camping. Some white guards found us. We killed them and rode all the way back to Wadsworth. And Luther told the gate guard a story about seeing a thief in Rosebloom trying to steal from the crypts, trying to fight the thief and getting stabbed in the gut with a poisoned dagger and having to flee. And that's where we ended.
Okay. Any other things of recap that we need to discuss before we jump into game?
I don't think so. I'm trying to remember if there's anything else we did that section, but... Oh, we did go to, we went to see the centaurs, right? We took some ale over there, and Luther asked if they could teach him Elven, and they were like, humans can't enter our forest. So, like, alright, bye.
Yes, they were receptive, but did not want you to go inside their lands.
Yeah.
Very defensive creatures.
Yes, that didn't work out either, but I guess we'll have to see.
Okay. So, we're just going to come back into game actually the very next day. Normally we have some downtime. But things are shaking in the world. Well, not so much in the world as they are in your town. You guys wake up the next morning, come down for breakfast, and in the middle of breakfast there is well, maybe not in the middle of breakfast. Maybe at the end of breakfast, while everyone's kind of sitting around the table, there's a knock on the door. Nice heavy knock on the door. One of the servants goes to answer it, and then immediately comes back with a look of concern on her face. She comes over to your father first, whispers something in his ear, and then he gives a slow nod and says, "It appears there are Wyatt guardsmen at the front door."
Very well.
Luther?
By the way, I think one thing I would have done right when I woke up, because I think last night I was probably too out of my mind from poison to do it, but when I woke up, I think I'd stab myself in the stomach.
Just...
Yeah.
All right. How much damage do you want to do to yourself?
As little damage as possible while still making a wound.
So you could do 1 point of damage?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Okay. You stab yourself in the stomach.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Anyway, your father gives you a blank look as his unfocused, kind of glazed over eyes move in your direction. Luther, I think this is a matter for you.
Yes. I stand up from the table and go to the front door.
You take
I'll go with
your
you.
Squire Martha with you, too.
My. Yes. Fine.
All right. The two of you arrive at the door, and sure enough, there are, there's one of the town guards adjacent to 3 Wyatt guards. None of them look especially distinguishable, but I would still like Tyler to make me a perception check at charisma check at -5.
Charisma check at
Yes,
-5.
please.
Lol.
Oh no.
5.
5. That is not a good charisma check. Okay. Anyway, there are these 4 guards, 1 town guard and 3 Wyatt guards. And the town guard says, "Excuse me, Lord Thorn, these men had come to the gate this morning asking about unusual people coming from the south yesterday. I told them your story that you told us. How are you feeling, by the way?"
Better. Not perfect, but better.
Well, these men have come from Rosebloom. They were eager to hear of your sightings there.
Very well. Would you like me to tell you here, or would you like to come inside?
One of the guards gives you like a nodding and kind of gesturing inside motion.
Okay. I'll go with them inside. I think it might be weird to do it wherever we're eating, which I guess the dining room.
Well, you got a lot of spaces.
Oh yeah, I think maybe we take them into the parlor.
Okay. Sure. The small one or the large one?
The large one, I suppose.
Okay. The guards take a seat somewhere and ask you what happened.
Well, yesterday I was on my way down to Lake Laron, and on the way down there I was riding through Rosebloom. I saw a light in the cemetery. I went to investigate. I found a thief. I fought the thief. He stabbed me. I felt that I was poisoned, and at that point I fled. We rode straight back to Wadsworth as quickly as we could.
Why did you not come see our liege lord instead?
In normal circumstances, I would have, but fearing for my life, fearing that I was poisoned, I wanted to get back here to see if I could find an antidote.
You say you fought these men in the cemetery? Whereabouts?
I went towards the light. There was the crypt there. The gate was open. I went down in there because that's where the light had gone. We fought down there, and I ended up fleeing back up.
He scratches his head, a little confused looking. You saw a light on in the cemetery.
Yes.
So you just went down into the crypt? That's very...
cemetery, and as I was approaching the light disappeared into the crypt. I saw the door was open, so I figured that's where they'd went.
Those are very good instincts of yours, my lord. I think most people would have assumed that it was just someone tending to the crypt.
Possibly. But
At night, though?
Yes, it seemed quite suspicious to me. That's all I can say.
Very, very, very prudent of yourself. If I may ask, where... This may seem a bit of a blunt question, and I apologize for it, but where were you staying that night in Rosebloom?
We weren't staying in Rosebloom. We were just passing through.
In the night? In the
Yes.
snow?
Yes.
Must have been awfully late.
I suppose it was. We had planned on camping somewhere further down the road. I don't really like intruding on people's villages.
Well, did you get a good look at the people? How many there were?
I only saw one. He was wearing a mask, so I didn't get a good look at his face. But I ended up knocking the mask off in combat. And
Did you get a good look at his face then?
I had not a good look at his face really, but I had a decent idea of him. I told the town guard this before. He was about 5'8", light brown hair, I believe. But it was hard to tell more than that in the relative darkness. He was wearing all black, too.
Is there anything else you could tell us about the situation? Anything else about the people, the man, any equipment he might have carried, horses, wagons, that sort of thing?
He certainly had a poison dagger. That much I know. But other than that, I'm not sure. The light I saw was a lantern, but it seemed like a fairly regular lantern.
But you didn't see anyone traveling with him, or any pack animals, or any large equipment. Nothing that would be easily identifiable.
Not that I saw. I went straight down to the crypt and then straight back out.
Does my lord have a horse?
I do.
Would you mind if we took a look at it? Joseph here is a kindred spirit with animals. He's hoping to look to see if there's any signs that it might have been left on your horse from the incident.
Left on my horse?
You know, things that might have gotten stuck in its hoof, any wounds it might have sustained.
My horse is fine.
Do you stable it around here, my lord?
Do I?
Um,
I can't remember where we said we put it because we don't have a stable near.
there's the inn across the street, I think.
Stable it at the inn.
Of course. The guard stands up. Thank you for your hospitality. You came straight back to Wadsworth, you say?
Yes, but we had to camp along the way. I was poisoned, you see, and I couldn't ride the whole way back.
Right, right. The guard looks at you. Very
We were confronted by some men.
Were you?
Yes.
Who? When?
I'm not sure who it was. I was sleeping in my tent when it happened.
Who?
But they attacked my squire, and we had to fight them off.
They look to Arthur. Everyone's standing about ready to leave, and then one of them says, Squire, could you please tell us about that incident?
Yeah, it was while Luther was still asleep. Well, I don't know if being passed out from poison counts as sleep, but he was not moving around very much. Some men came up. It was hard to see them. It was during the day, but when they got closer, they were wearing some sort of leather armor, I think. Two of them on horse. I know one of them had a spear. The other, I think he had some kind of sword. But I was on the ground. Our horses were tied to a tree nearby.
You don't say. Did you get a good look at these people? Any sort of colors they might have been wearing or flying?
Well, one of them had a brown horse, and the other was kind of mixed colored. White on the bottom, brown on top.
Well, if you don't mind, we'll be taking our leave now. Thank you.
Very well.
All right.
They head out, cross the yard, out the front gate, where you see them stopping and talking to some other people in that kind of courtyard area just in between the buildings.
Okay, Luther wants to go upstairs to his room.
Arthur also wants to go upstairs to Luther's room.
Okay, so I guess Arthur follows Luther, and Luther's going to, like, get down on his knees and start, like, checking for loose floorboards or anything like that he might be able to pry open with a dagger.
Yeah, you can find something.
Okay.
You know, it might not be loose, but you can make it loose.
Yeah. Well, he's gonna, like, pull that up and unlock his chest and dump all the loot from the crypt into that space under the floorboards.
Okay.
And replace it.
All right, it is so. Let me just figure out where Luther's house is. Oh, you've got one of the houses overlooking the front door. So from this position, as you guys are doing this, you can see that it's not just the 3 Wyatt guards and the 1 town guard. There are a bunch of people that were kind of hanging out on the other side of the wall, waiting. And now they're starting to move around. The guards and town guard have kind of moved back away from the gate, but they're still on the other side of the wall. You can see their spears that they carry with them kind of poking up a little bit. They seem to be outside, kind of pressed against the back, against the wall. You look at the map.
Against the wall?
Yeah, they're like...
So basically they look like they're gonna, like, run into our house and arrest me.
A little bit. Or maybe they're just, like, hanging out, you know, waiting for something. Or maybe they're kind of hanging out waiting to arrest you. Who knows? Like,
Okay,
kind of
well,
right there in that area.
I've stabbed myself. I have put the loot in a floorboard. Could it have been, like, a floorboard near the wall, like, under where my chest is, so I can put the chest back up over it?
Sure.
Okay.
Definitely.
That's pretty-
Okay.
Luther, what was that?
What was what?
All of that.
You're going to have to explain what you mean, because
Why did you think it was a good idea to tell them that we fought somebody else after we fought a thief?
they knew what our horses looked like. That's why they wanted to go look for my horse. They'd seen them when we were camping, so they'd have known that it was us.
Well, a guy saw some horses in the distance.
I think it's a perfectly reasonable story that the guards were a bit overzealous, and my life was threatened, and they attacked us. I think it would have been easy for them to find out that it was us there.
I think you're overestimating their investigative abilities here.
Possibly. Either way, the explanation is that there was a thief that we fought at the crypt. We ended up fleeing when I got poisoned. Who knows?
All
where
right.
the thief went?
All right, fine. I need to go talk to my brother real quick. You just I guess we're going with this story.
All right. You find your brother. He's mostly recuperated, or probably entirely recuperated by now. Can't remember how long it's been since he was wounded. Hanging out in the training room, practicing with his one hand.
Is he the only one in here?
Yes.
All right, say, Reggie.
Yes?
We should, where's the rest of, Reggie's family? Are they in town?
No, they live in a village to the south.
Okay.
What's the
That's-
durable?
Something like that.
All right, I say, Luther is doing some weird things. It's more than that. Look, I don't have a very good feeling about where this is going. He's old. And I don't feel good about. I don't know.
Slow down. Tell me what's going on, son, brother.
Well, I double check again to make sure that we're the only two in here.
He steps a little bit
And-
closer, seeing your concern.
Well, have you noticed that the Thorns don't have any land or villages or anything?
Yes?
Well, do you know how they make their money?
Adventuring out into the swamp and into Nixon. Isn't that where you lost the
Yeah.
last two of their family members?
Hmm.
And brought back a whole boatload of booty?
Yeah. That's what I thought too, which is, well, but yesterday, I think, well, maybe 2 days ago, Luther had us go to the Wyatt Crypts and had us, we robbed the place, or rather, he
No.
did.
Grave robbing?
Yeah.
Is that why the Wyatt men are outside right now?
Mm. That and Luther is really bad at lying.
Puts you in a very tough position.
Yeah, I know. We haven't sworn any oaths or anything, but I know
I
that
have
normally-
sworn one to his father, but he is not his father. Does his father know of this? Does William know?
No.
Does anyone else know? Is it just Luther? Is this a solo action of his?
I think so. Maybe some of the others know, but I didn't witness anything like that.
Or, well, what are you going to do?
Well, for now, For now, I think I'm gonna try to stick this out, but honestly, I think I don't know if he was trying to hurt me or what, but he put me in a really bad position when the guards came in here, and honestly, if he's gonna do that to me, that's not a lord I'm gonna serve.
He puts a hand on your shoulder. You know, the path of honor is a difficult one to walk. Most honorable men find themselves, how should I say, not in positions of grandeur or authority.
Mm-hmm.
Doing the right thing often means compromising your aspirations.
Yeah.
You do anything other than completely back him up, you probably never find yourself in the service of another, and you may be hunted. You know how people can be. You William's a good man, but he's been in his cups a lot lately. He even got your name wrong at breakfast. I wouldn't put it past him to put a price on your head if you didn't corroborate his son's story. Then again, I probably wouldn't put it past him to be unable to find someone to carry out the deed these days.
Yeah, I think I don't think I'm gonna just turn him in, but if he keeps doing stuff like that, I don't know.
Of course,
because it's one thing just if he's given me like orders to break the law and that sort of thing, but it's another when he's going out of his way to harm me and my family. I can't.
Well then,
you know, at the end of the day, you have to defend yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll see where it goes. I think.
Good luck. He gives you a firm, like, hand grab on the shoulder, and then takes a few steps away and waits for you to leave the room.
Yep. As I turn to leave, I say, if it comes to it, just make sure you and your family are safe too.
Gives you a solemn nod. A few moments later, maybe a minute or two later, there comes another knock on the door. Luther, you're probably upstairs still, and you can see this coming. Your two horses are being led down that little alleyway between the buildings. Like, it's not an alleyway; it's a street between the buildings. Mm-hmm. And the sheriff is with them, as well as 2 town guards now and 6 Wyatt guards. Some of them you saw leaving the Wyatt estate. They're probably the people who are, full-time guards at the estate, being mixed with the people from down south. They're all kind of piling up around your front door. You can see them outside of the gate before they come through it and give a knock on the door. But the knock comes nonetheless.
Okay. I assume a servant's going to go answer it.
Yeah. Servant does. And then, the call comes. Lord Thorn! Squire Arthur! The door's for you!
Okay, what do you think about the viability of putting a lockpick up my ass?
Very strong. If you want to take a few minutes and, and roll up your picks and insert them, that is definitely possible.
Alright, that's what I'm gonna do.
Okay. We're not going to go into any details on that. Let's just consider it done and done.
Okay, and then I will go down to the door.
Okay. The 2 of you are there. Sheriff Bruce is standing outside the door next to a couple of Wyatt guards. The horses have been brought into the main room, that kind of chamber, not chamber, your yard, that's the word, yard.
Yeah.
Sheriff Bruce goes, Lord Luther Thorn, I don't think I ever got a chance to tell you how sorry I am about the loss of your brother and sister. My apologies.
I believe they liked you very much.
These are your horses, right? He says, gesturing to the 2 of them.
Yes. Is there a problem?
Yes, my lord, there is. I have been conferring with the captain of the Wyatt Guard, he says, motioning to a guy still standing outside the gate. He looks kind of angry, a little pissed off. They have told me what's happened. And, sorry, my lord, I think I'm going to have to arrest you and your squire.
For what?
For grave robbing, my lord, and murder.
I told them that we'd fought the grave robber.
Yes, I've heard their side of the story. I'm not, of course, the Countess will be the official judge on these things, but what they've said is Seems enough.
Seems enough.
Don't make this more complicated or difficult than it has to be, my lord. Let the Countess decide.
What have I ever done for this town, besides help?
You've done a great many things, my lord, and for that I am personally very grateful, but a grave robber is still a grave robber.
Unless he isn't.
That is for the Countess and the gods to decide. Please, please.
Arthur
Very
just
well.
shrugs and says, "All right, are we just gonna walk down then?"
Your hands, please. And he reaches to his side and pulls out some manacles.
How about we just walk down? If we're going with you, that's not important.
Of course. Fine, fine. But I will need to take your weapons, of course.
All right.
You can leave them here at the house. You don't have to trust them to me.
Very well.
Okay. He disarms you, leaves it at the house. Your father comes stumbling out, half changed. He's kind of got some armor on. He's got like his chainmail shirt and his chainmail pants. He's kind of hopping on his foot while leaning against his wife. Starts rambling something about, "This is my family! You can't take them!"
Father, these men are mistaken. We'll be back soon.
Good. And then we can get them all. And he kind of slumps down against the wall and kind of just hangs his head, mumbling to himself. Your stepmother arrives and kind of tries to pull him out, but he's very firmly plomped near the door, half in his chainmail, no weapon in sight. And the sheriff, along with a small contingent of Wyatt guards, will lead you all the way to the Countess's keep.
Oh, we're going
dungeon.
to the
Oh yeah,
Not
you're
the
going.
sheriff's little
No,
city
you're going to the
house.
Supermax.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh boy, that's not good.
You guys arrive, are set in the jail, which is pitch black. There are a couple of other people in here, but the sheriff leaves a very full lantern hanging, so you guys aren't left in perpetual darkness, and make sure that you have food and water in your cell, which the other prisoners down here, you see buckets of water, but they look a little hungry.
Well, no good deed goes unpunished, huh?
We'll be out soon enough.
Not very much time actually passes. You're down there for maybe half an hour before the sheriff comes back down, keys rattling, opens up the gate, and leads you to the surface and into the Countess's main hall, where you see a very hastily assembled set of tables and chairs, benches really. You see one of the person that had been gestured as the Wyatt head of household guard head, captain of the guard, that's the term. The Wyatt captain of the guard sitting on one area along with a few of his other soldiers. You see some of the Countess's men spread out fairly well to keep the peace no matter what happens. Her captain of the guard's beside her. She motions for the two of you to come and sit at a table. So you've got like one table that has the Wyatts, one table that has the two of you, and then the Countess at the head. In a hasty courtroom setup.
Okay.
The Countess clears her throat and says, Lord Thorn, you have done great things for our town as of late. The slaying of the Hydra, the planning of the walls, the proposition to drain the stinking marsh. You've brought down 2 werewolves. And you've lost 2 brothers and a sister. For this, you have my eternal gratitude. The Wyatt family, represented here by Kel Darwin, wishes to pursue crimes of, well, grave robbing and murder. All quite a bit unusual. So why don't we proceed? Who would like to go first? Which is basically your cue to go first if you want. And
Okay.
explain yourself.
So, I guess Luther would know how this works, but I don't. Do I like stand up and just kind of give my case? Or...
Yeah, you can stand up, say your piece, then they'll stand up, say their piece, and then, you know, if you have said something that they disagree with or think is wrong, they will, you know, challenge you on that topic, and then when they talk, you can challenge them on topics, and it's not the same sort of like strict legal hierarchy that we have in the modern day. It's going to be much more of just a conversation between the three groups of people.
Yeah. Okay. So I stand up
Mm-hmm.
and I say, I guess it's still last night, isn't it? No,
It's the day.
Well, yeah, it's day now, but like all this happened last night still.
No. Let's see. It happened one night. Then you guys rode up partway, camped, spent a part of a day there, and then rode the rest of the way to Wadsworth. So
Yeah.
it would have been not last night, but the night before that all this went down.
Okay.
And now it's about noon, a little after noon, maybe 3 or 4.
Okay. I'll say 2 nights ago, my squire and I were traveling down to Lake Luron, and on the way down, we went through Rosebloom. While there, we were passing by the cemetery, and we saw a light in the cemetery. It seemed quite suspicious considering how late it was, so I went to investigate, knowing that there had been tombs robbed before. Sure enough, there was a thief there, a lone thief, from what I could tell. I went down into the crypt to pursue him. We fought. He stabbed me in the gut. I'll like lift up my shirt or something and like show the bandage. And I figured out that the dagger was poisoned. I felt it coursing through my veins, and at that time I panicked and fled along with my squire. And we left the crypt, got on our horses, and started riding straight back to Wadsworth.
The Wyatt guy says, "Lord, would you mind removing the bandages so we can confirm the wound?"
Okay, I removed the bandage.
The Countess sends her captain of the guard to take a look at it. He nods and says, "It's fairly fresh, yes?" And heads back. If you're done, it's the Wyatt's turn.
I guess I'll say, on the way back, because I was poisoned, I grew very weak, and we had to camp along the way. We were staying there at a tent, and we were approached. This is what my squire tells me. Some men approached, and they threatened us. They attacked my squire. We defended ourselves and fled, fearing further attacks, riding all the way back to Wadsworth.
Countess looks to you, Arthur, and says, "Would you please tell us in your own words what happened if Lord Thorne was unconscious?" From the beginning, please.
From when we left Wadsworth?
Yes.
Well, we traveled south. I didn't know exactly where we were going. I knew it was down towards the lake in the Nixon area. I was behind Luther on my horse, and then he said he spotted a light in the cemetery, and I saw it too. We went over. I stayed with the horses while he went into the crypt. Next thing you know, he came out of the crypt. I saw he was bleeding, and somebody else came out behind him and ran off into the darkness. I was going to go run him down with the horses, but Luther was pretty hurt, and I thought that was more important. So after that, I took him back north to Wadsworth because he was saying that he was poisoned and that sort of thing. then I think it was that night. We stopped, waited for him to, well, get better. I was hoping, but he didn't. So in the morning, a few men came by. One of them tried to stab me with a spear. Well, succeeded because I was on the ground and he had a horse. And I think I was stabbed in the shoulder or something.
Yeah, something like that.
But killed 2 of them and packed Luther up and rode back to Wadsworth.
See, directly to Wadsworth.
Yes.
Be seated. The Wyatt, captain of the guard, stands up and says, Your Countess, these men have told some half-truths here. We woke up yesterday, I believe it was, and immediately had reports of footprints leading through the fresh-packed snow into the cemetery. We investigated immediately, as there had been previously grave robbers out there, and our scouts had not seen them that night. And sure enough, there were tracks. Looked like the tracks of 2 horses, and only 2 horses. Except they approached from the south of town, not from the coming through town. We sent people to investigate both trails, as one then led north through town and the other went back south through town. It appears that whoever it was approached from the north and then came up through the cemetery on the south side. The prints were still very fresh in the snow. And the snow also had no other tracks leading elsewhere. There was no third set leading off in a different direction, just the one loop with a lot of standing about near the crypt itself. Sent a group of men to follow each set of tracks. The first group of 2 followed the tracks as far north as they could. They got lost a little bit near Wadsworth. The other group of 3 followed the tracks heading northward, where they deviated when they approached, I believe it was Darbloon? The tracks deviated from the town, so we sent a rider in each direction. 1 to the town, 1 to the keep, and 1 to follow these tracks that went off towards a grove. One of our men here, he points to one of the guys sitting at the table, heard the horn being sounded from the south of Darbloon and rode out. The man that had gone to the grove of trees was already dead. He and the man from the keep approached. Man with 2 horses and a tent was under the grove. Now, my man here was quite a ways away and couldn't make out any distinguishing features on the face, but sure enough, there was fresh blood and snow around him. So Johnson here rode back to warn people. By the time we returned with more men, Henry was also dead, slain. 2 good Wyatt men doing their jobs, just investigating, murdered.
Doing their jobs? You mean attacking my squire? With no evidence that we've done anything wrong?
That is easy for you to say, since you killed the only 2 witnesses to that event.
Well, obviously not if there's a witness.
Johnson here claims that he rode off before seeing Henry engage the 2 of you, or one of you, in battle. Those tracks were then followed by our reinforcements that led to the river, not straight to Wadsworth. No one could spot any on the other side, so, you can only go up the river or down the river, and there's nothing down the river, so we went up the river. where we ran into the Wadsworth guards at the gate, who said that Lord Thorn and Squire Arthur here had reported this battle with this third thief who left no tracks in the snow. Yes. That is the story as we see it.
You don't think someone can cover their tracks? Especially a thief who's robbed your crypts before?
The snow was still fairly fresh. There had been some falling. It's possible, remotely possible, that someone could have covered their tracks, but for how long and how far? We did scour the area around town and around the crypt. Someone trying to cover their tracks in snow would not be an easy task. Admittedly, I have very little experience covering my own tracks in snow, and I'm a well-seasoned campaigner. But I feel that just proves my point. It snows here so very rarely, I doubt many people have the know-how or skills to hide their tracks easily and for long periods of time. Certainly we found no unhidden tracks anywhere else.
I understand your point, but I've slain a Hydra, and this man was able to stab me with a dagger. He was no mere peasant. He's a professional. Not much I could tell.
Then why did you say you rode straight back to Wadsworth instead of to the river? And why did you ride to the river?
We rode to the river because we had just been attacked and we were afraid of being pursued. We hoped that the river would help us lose the trail, keep us from being tracked.
And you didn't recognize the Wyatt banners on my men's chest, or, their tabards, or the trappings on their horses?
If we were attacked, we were attacked. It doesn't matter who we were attacked by. We have a right to defend ourselves.
He looks to the squire now and says, "You didn't recognize that these were Wyatt men?"
I shake my head and I say, I recognize some sort of banner, but I haven't been in town that long. I don't know all the family's crests and that sort of thing.
It seems your men were a bit overzealous and a bit too eager to jump to conclusions, and they attacked us, not knowing who we were and thinking that we had just robbed a grave.
That's your story. It's very convenient that any witnesses are dead. You could tell any tale, and there would be no one to dispute it.
Why do you think me such a bad man? What have I done for this place but good? What reason do you have to suspect me of doing such bad things?
The trail of evidence that leads from the crypt to your front door?
What evidence? Just because there was a trail, you were there. You have no evidence that we robbed anything.
Countess, these men have admitted to slaying 2 Wyatt guards. I promise you my men would not attack without provocation. They were scouts. They were not really capable of capturing much. I don't know what you did to kill them. There were arrow wounds, but no arrows in them. You took your arrows back out, right, Arthur? That's what I seem to recall. Yeah. A classic sign of someone trying to hide who they are. These were just random brigands on the road. There's no reason to hide yourself from them. There's also the matter of these men traveling to the south of our town and then coming up from below.
We only saw the light when we were on the south side.
And why didn't you tell your squire where you were going? You didn't tell him you were going to the lake? You just wandered off to the south with him in tow? Skipping a town while it's snowing out? deciding to camp in the snow in the wilderness rather than take up the hospitality that you know is offered to you.
People would know by now that I never take up the hospitality of others. We always camp on the road.
Even in the snow?
Yes. Tents have tarps. It stays dry in them.
The Countess looks around at everyone and looks to you, Arthur. Says, do you have anything else at this time to say?
Arthur just shakes his head.
She sits there, drumming her fingers on her arm, the arm of her chair. She looks at Arthur really heavily. You didn't know that they were Wyatt men. You're from, not Wadsworth proper, but one of the villages, right?
That's right.
And you can't recognize the Wyatt emblem.
Well, I never learned to read.
It's not a matter of reading, my good man. What is their emblem? Hold on. Family notes, I think it is. Google Docs, load faster. It's a running fox over a field of green on a backing of blue. Not a matter of reading. Do you recognize my silver paw print?
That one I do. But I spend most of my time in the woods before I was Luther's squire.
How old are you?
19.
At 19 years old, you can't memorize the 7 sigils of the 7 houses.
I'm sure someone could.
Are you an idiot? I don't mean any disrespect. I'm simply trying to understand how someone in service to the Thorne family, who has been there for some time, if I recall correctly, wouldn't recognize the Wyatt family crest. They are the second most powerful house, the third most powerful house after my own.
If I may say something, we
Please.
had to spend more time in the marshes and in Nixon than fraternizing with the Wyatts. I don't think it's too unreasonable. I never asked him to learn anything like that. He's more useful in other...
Didn't you work with Lady Clara Wyatt after her mother Condi was slain by a werewolf? Didn't you work to bring that creature down?
We worked to bring the creature down, but not with the Wyatts.
Did you not attend their funeral and speak with them?
I did, yes. I'm not saying I can't recognize the Wyatt sigils.
She turns to Arthur. Did you attend the funeral?
Did I? I think I did.
I don't remember.
That was, what, a few months ago, I think?
Mm-hmm.
I think so, yes.
So, as you tell it, a thief so skilled that he would not leave tracks in the snow.
That he would not leave tracks, that he could cover his tracks.
A thief so skilled that he could cover his tracks in the snow to the extent that the Wyatts could not find them. Stabbed you in a crypt at night.
The tracks could have as easily been covered up. What little he did not cover up himself.
And then you, poisoned by this thief's blade, immediately fled, rather than slaying him where he stood. The man who cut down a hydra couldn't handle a single thief.
Poisoned. I didn't know what kind of poison it was. I thought I could die on the spot.
When we fought the Hydra, there were a lot more than just the two of us.
Yes. I know that you lost your brother and sister in that, as well as many good men. Still, you then flee north, and your squire is so incompetent that he cannot recognize the very crest of the people who he had... the very crest of the town that he was just in. A crest of one of the major families in town. Could not recognize that, and opted to kill the people rather than talk to them. Right? There was no negotiation. There was no, hold on,
yeah,
this is Lord Thorn.
There was certainly talking that happened, but in the end, my squire was attacked. He did not attack anyone first.
Why did you not just simply proclaim that this was Lord Thorn?
Well, I did.
And these men attacked you anyway.
Yeah.
You do know how that sounds, right? Rather absurd.
I think this whole thing sounds...
One of them did. I think it's a little strange that Wyatt men are attacking Lord Thorn right after they make some business deals between their families.
Yes, I find it very strange myself.
This whole thing is very strange. I don't understand these accusations. I understand why it looks like we're the culprits, but I would think that looking at myself and what I've done for this place, that it would be quite easy to see that I would never rob a grave.
Well, if you take your story, there are many questions, and there are many very strange things in it. Many curiosities and leaps that one must make. The Wyatt family story is very straightforward.
Is it?
Very straightforward.
I understand that their reasoning may be straightforward, but that does not change the fact that they have no physical evidence whatsoever.
Would you mind then if I had my men search your house?
No, you may do so. There isn't anything to find, so...
She pauses for a long minute. And during this battle, you were asleep, Lord Thorn?
I was asleep until the commotion had gotten fairly deafening, you may
And
say.
after that, you didn't recognize that these were Wyatt men?
I didn't really... I was poisoned. I was delirious. All I had to do was get on my horse and leave.
The guards at the gate corroborated the story of you being somewhat out of it. She turns back to the Wyatt family members. Could you tell me a bit about the crypt down below? What was taken? What sort of disturbances were down there? Captain of the guard goes, well, lady, one of the areas has been caved in. And a couple other... Some locks were picked and some traps were sprung. Doesn't actually look like a masterful thief. Someone surely managed to get through quite a bit down there, but springing quite a few traps along the way. I can't quite tell you what was taken, but many ancient tombs of our founding members were pilfered, robbed.
You said locks were picked?
He nods. Yes.
I've never picked a lock in my life.
You don't say. I can't imagine the thief that would proclaim to be an expert at picking locks.
Well, you may be right about that, but it doesn't change the fact that I've never been known to be a thief who can do such things. I've certainly been in the public eye for a long time. Been part of Wadsworth for 34 years now.
He sets his jaw firmly and then looks to the Countess and says, whoever it was down there, certainly made a mess of things. Tipped over open coffins, pulled the valuables from it, started with the oldest graves and went towards the newest. They got most of the way through before one of the old, supposed to be deadly, he says, some anger in his voice, traps seemed to stop them. One of the gates down there was tampered with. It wasn't unlocked, but there was a little needle sticking out of it. Classic thief trap, milady. She nods. Kind of understanding the implications. Luther, do you have any more siblings that I am unaware of? Perhaps a younger sibling?
No, I'm afraid I'm the last one.
Do you have anyone else in your family that is a capable warrior? I know your father has been blinded.
My father is blind. Everyone else has never fought a day in their lives.
Do you have any children?
No.
She sits in silence. Well, I think I have seen and heard enough. I will have my men search your house for any additional evidence, but I think I'm ready to make my decision. I find Lord Thorn and his squire Arthur guilty of the crimes accused of them. However, in light of his great service to our small little county, the help with the werewolves and the slaying of the great hydra in the swamp, I would like to reduce the charges or the sentencing for Lord Thorn here. The slaying of 2 Wyatt guards to protect his own hide is a serious crime that would carry many years of imprisonment. Robbing of a family tomb, especially a prestigious and ancient tomb, carries with it a decent sentence as well. But I'm willing to commute the grave robbing if the treasure can be restored, and give you a few years in the dungeon to cool your head. Do you have any treasure to restore?
No. How could I restore treasure that I don't have?
As for his squire, who is not of noble birth,
but did assist with the slaying of the Hydra and werewolves.
yes, but also murdered 2 soldiers and robbed a grave. I'm afraid I cannot commute your sentence. I will recommend you for the gallows. She motions to her captain of the guard. Please take these men down to the dungeons. And they drag you off to the dungeons.
Yep. Arthur just does not say anything. Glares at Luther, though.
Alright, you guys get dragged down, tossed in the cell. The lantern is still left for you. The food and water is still here from before. A few other people.
Anyone down in the hallways?
There are some other prisoners down here, but the guards leave. You can hear them go up the stairs and shut the heavy wooden door, and you can hear the bar sliding against it from the other side. You've seen the upstairs of this. It's this kind of... It's basically like a doorway that leads into a downward hallway underground to where the prison is, and the doorway upstairs has a nice heavy bar to put across it, just in case something goes wrong. And it's the two of you in the dungeons. Is there... I think you have... something you can pull out of your sleeve to solve this problem?
Well, if there's a barred door up the stairs, I don't know how to deal with that, really. Is there any, like, other way out of this area?
Out of the dungeon? Just the one door.
There's no grates or...
No.
Is there anything strange?
No, it's a pretty solid dungeon. This is the maximum security dungeon. So it's the two of you and some other random prisoners who you don't recognize. You've never seen them in your life.
Do I have, like... I guess I can see them? There's no, like, solid walls between the cells?
No, just bars.
Do any of them look like Super Hulk 18 strength?
No.
Amazing Man?
No. There's a couple of people who look like they've probably been down here for a decade. And then there's a couple of people that look like they are relatively recent additions.
Okay, I guess I'll just say in a fairly low voice. Anybody know how to get out of here?
The quiet is all that meets you.
Well, we have to do something.
Yeah, well, unless you can get through the doors, I can't do anything.
Oh.
Are we, like, tied up in the cell?
No. You're just placed in the cell. You have your hands and feet free. Some of the other prisoners, you notice, have manacles and shackles on, but considering your rank, you are permitted, free access to whatever you have on you.
All right. Well, Luther's gonna tell Arthur to look away for a moment, and he's gonna pull his little bundle of lockpicks out of his ass.
All right.
And he's gonna start picking the lock on a cell.
All right. So you get one attempt.
Mm-hmm.
And if it succeeds, it's open, and if it doesn't succeed, well, then it's just never going to succeed. Where is my DMG? Here we go. Let's see. I don't think the locks in the jail are especially strong or weak, so no modifiers to your lockpicking check. What is your percentage?
75, and I've never failed to pick a lock, I think. Which is I know I'm gonna fail now when I actually need it, but
Go for it.
The situation.
Nope. The one time.
So I literally, no matter how much time I spend trying to pick this lock, it's just impossible.
It is beyond your skill. So this attempt probably takes you like 45 minutes, and at the end of it, you're like, can't do it.
Okay, I'm going to start teaching Arthur how to pick locks.
Arthur, how do you respond to him handing you these shitty locks and trying to get lock picks? And I mean, it's not going to work, but
yeah. Arthur just swats them away and says, "Luther, no."
Okay, Luther starts trying to bend the bars of the cell.
What is your bend bars chance?
4.
4%. All right, man. D100, 4 or lower. Nope.
Arthur.
All right.
What's your bend
Arthur.
bars percent?
10.
10% or lower on a D100?
Yeah. All right. Let's. Nope.
Nope.
Is there a way to get into another one of the cells?
Nope.
Luther will try anyway.
Alright, it's just stone floor and stone walls and bars between them. It is a long, desperate day and a half down here before someone comes for you.
I do put the lockpick.
Before that, is there like a bucket or something in the cell?
There's a bucket of water.
And
a waste
that it?
bucket. You know. That's it. Just the bucket of water and the waste bucket.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. The Wyatts are the Lore Winds are going to search your house. You did hide them in floorboards under a chest, which is a pretty good hiding spot. But these guys are doing their due diligence, so I'm going to
tear up all the floorboards.
Not all the floorboards, no, of course not. I'll give them a low % chance of finding it. But they are doing their job, and they're not idiots. And they've got reason to suspect these things are here. So I'm going to give them like a 20% chance to find it. It's pretty low, but still reasonably possible.
I had a 75% chance to pick the lock.
Yeah, you did. 92. No, they don't find any of your stuff.
That's nice.
That's nice, yeah.
At least I can have money when I get out of prison.
Well, a few days later, down the stairs comes the captain of the guard and a couple of his subordinates.
Oh, there's a lot of them. Fuck.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the captain of the guard is he's the best fighter in all the land here.
So like
probably level 6 or 7.
Killing him with a lockpick probably wouldn't work.
You never know, man. You could always roll like 5 natural 20s in a row. It's possible.
Oh God.
Okay. He heads down and holds his manacles through the gate. Looks at Arthur, and says, "Son, put your hands in these."
You know, if it's all the same to you, I'd rather fight.
I can respect that. Well, let's make it fair. He reaches for a short sword from one of the guards nearby and kind of tosses it onto the other side of the gate. Motions his men to get back, unlocks the gate, and gives you some room to step out now that you're armed with a short sword.
All right.
Okay. Let me roll his HP.
That's a lot. Sounds like a lot.
A little
Probably
bit,
60,
yeah.
10.
Okay, well, he's not going to take off his armor. So he's got a breastplate with chain limbs coming off of it, giving him, what is that, AC 16? 18? I don't remember. I've got to look it up. What you just have clothes on, right? You weren't wearing armor at that time, so... Okay, let's roll initiative, man.
What kind of weapon does he have?
He has a longsword.
Okay. Does he have a shield?
No.
Does he have a dagger?
At his side, yes, but not in his hand. He's just wielding the one longsword.
Did they just leave the gate to like my cell open?
Yes. Currently, the gate to your cell is open while you and Arthur fight. While Arthur and this guy fights. There are 2 guards on the staircase, and this main guy. Let's see. Let's give a very quick drawing of this, just to give an idea of how it's looking. If you look in the area south of the Meadowlands, Okay. So there's a stairway that comes down from the surface, and then a slightly wider hallway with cells on the sides like that. But they're all even cells. And so the second cell is yours. There are 2 guards at the back. The knight is now here. So he opens the door and steps back so Arthur can come out. And so Arthur is here-ish. So if you were to leave your cell, you would be between the knight and the guards. Behind the knight is just, a further dungeon which dead ends eventually. There's nowhere to go. But that's more or less the setup of this. And let's roll initiative, Arthur.
All right. Seven.
That's pretty good. You go first.
All right. Well, I rolled to wrestle him, so I just run at him and try to knock him on the ground.
Okay, that is going to provoke an attack of opportunity from him.
Yep.
Okay. There is... Oh. All right, so making an unarmed attack against an armed opponent. You're not a proficient martial artist. Let's see. It's a attack of opportunity. I think it's at bonus to hit. Just double check though. We so rarely do unarmed attacks against armed opponents.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Brawling against armed opponents. Any brawling attack provokes an attack of opportunity from all opponents who are armed and threateningly assailant. The defender gets a +4 bonus to attack and damage rolls. Ouch.
Ouch.
Ouch. All right, so you go for it. He takes a swipe at you with a... And that becomes a... Plus that becomes an 18... Plus that becomes a total of a 21, but it's not a natural 18. What is your armor class?
13.
From Dex? Okay, so he doesn't crit you, but he does hit you. For maximum damage, 8, 3, and 4 is 15.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to bother to see if he's got high strength or not. We're just going to assume he just doesn't have high strength. So that's 15 damage, and make your unarmed attack against him.
Okay.
All you got to do is hit his natural AC. His armor doesn't matter. Has no effect on this.
All right, so since I'm trying to wrestle him, what is this? Just my my strength then, and my base, or melee adjust?
Yep.
Okay, that would be +3. Okay.
Oh,
Nope.
so close. You give a dive at him, and he gracefully steps to the side, and you kind of tumble through. And he makes his normal attack against you. Natural 18 plus 5 plus 3 is a 26.
Yep.
And that clears you by 10.
By 10.
So 3d8 plus 3 damage.
Oh, I'm super dead.
1, 2, and 3 plus 3. That's 6, and 3 is 9.
I'm at -3.
Okay. You fall to the ground, bleeding out in the dungeon. Luther?
Without a medical kit, can I still try to stabilize someone?
You can.
Okay, I'll like rush over to him and try to stabilize him.
Give me an intelligence check.
Oh my god!
Not quite. Not quite.
Oh.
The knight comes over and, waves his sword at you to go back inside your cell. Do you go back in your cell?
Luther shakes his head and Stands up and walks back into his cell.
The knight motions for one of the guards to lock you in again while he tries to bandage Arthur's wounds. If possible, he's going to see you hang. 10. I got to roll his intelligence. He might be able to do it. Nope. He tries to bandage you up and then kind of says to no one in particular, well, the Countess isn't going to be too happy about this one. Waits for Luther to be locked up.
Tell the Countess, now that she's searched my house and found nothing, that I should be let go.
He and his guys haul Arthur out of the room, up the stairs. And...
Yep.
They spend like 5 years in jail.
Well, yeah, so you're going to spend some time in jail, Luther.
And I literally, even in 5 years, I can't try to pick the lock again. There's just nothing I can do.
Once that is the rules as written, yeah. The lock is too difficult for you, or maybe you don't have the right tools for it. Maybe it's a lever latch lock, and you don't have the tools for that. You've only got tools for what do you call it? What's the
Tumbler.
Tumbler lock.
What about, can I try to bend the bars every day?
No. The bars are too...
Keep getting stronger. Can I raise my strength?
Yeah, just work out in prison all the time. No. Okay.
No.
In your downtime in the prison, there is nobody to really take up the family mantle. Your family will do what they can for themselves.
The money I found I stashed in the floorboards. That'll help.
I mean, they think that there's no treasure in here, right? The Countess's men couldn't find anything. Maybe they do look for it. Maybe they do find it eventually, but I don't think they have enough money to survive without someone to make money for the family.
They have Max, the engineer.
They have Max. That's all they've got, though. And the family needs...
Oh no.
Yes. So I think we close the book on the Thorn family and their squire, and bring this to a sad but brutal and appropriate end. Well, this most certainly has been an age of strife.
Rip Arthur.
Rip Arthur.
Yeah. I feel when the one time you fail to pick a lock is when you need it the most.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, and the one time you need to tackle a knight and try to steal his dagger and stab him with it.
Oh, so close.
It's great because I had plans of like stealing the horn and giving it back to the Countess to atone for killing those two guys, but that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Well, you did. I don't know whether to congratulate you or to reprimand you for sticking by Luther. Good for your loyalty, but yeah.
I mean, it's not like it would have helped, really.
Yeah. Well, maybe. Maybe if you had turned tail early enough, you could have just gotten away with a long time in prison too. But then you probably would have had to just be next to Luther in prison for years, and that probably would have driven you both mad. Well, Age of Strife has been a blast. I really liked the setting and the high lethality of the campaign. I felt gave it a lot of tension that was appropriate.
Yeah.
I like the consequences of things. Good.
Do you get an epilogue? Did they finally manage to build the wall and drain the swamp?
You know, that's a good question. Why don't we let's decide that right now.
Maybe Luther can find out when he gets out of prison.
Okay. So the wall building, I had already kind of sort of planned out how that would go. Let's go through these details right now. In April, there's this random snowstorm that's come through, so there's no building the wall until that passes. May, the wall begins work. In June, there's some more bad rain, some heavy rains, bad weather. So you got to wait kind of for the rest of for the rain to stop and then everything to dry out. July is a solid month. The wall keeps being built. In August, a giant comes by again, and it's up to the player characters to find a way to persuade the giant, to keep the giant from damaging the walls, which is up to the player characters. Without the player characters around, kind of just comes back and causes problems, and then the wall more or less needs to be started from scratch again, or the repairs are damaged or new sections of the wall are broken. We'd have to see how that was played out. But on the random chart of events to happen during these things, a giant comes through. The next 2 months were normal, and then some more bad weather in November, and then December would have had a labor dispute where you needed to chip in some extra money because the peasants feel like they were working for too cheaply. So if you had stopped the giant and solved the labor dispute, the wall would have been built by the end of December. Without you guys around to ward off the giant, I'm not sure how that's going to play out. I'm going to give the town a 30% chance of dealing with the giant on their own. Arthur, why don't you roll that?
It's like, what's the chance that the giant just kills the countess?
Yeah, maybe we get a new evil count. It lets me out.
All right, here's the roll. 13.
Oh,
they ward off the giant.
Wards off the giant. Congratulations. The next task would be draining the swamp. The plans can be written up for that, and kind of already have been written up for that. Let's see. What is more pressing at that point, though, would be the Civil War, which would have started by December of next year. Or, been started by the Civil War of next year. So I don't know if there's enough resources to drain the swamp, but let's pretend somehow there are enough resources to drain the swamp. I'm going to give it without the player characters to oversee it, and with the background of a civil war, I'm going to give the swamp a 25% chance of being drained, or at least the process of it being started. Luther, you want to roll a 25% chance to see if the swamp can be drained? Oh, no dice. The swamp gets started, monsters stop it, lack of supplies and finances stop it, and the whole area gets dragged into a civil war. And I'm not sure what happens to Luther.
I should have shoved one of those. Actually, I could have never skilled up my read languages. I was going to say I should have put one of those journals up my ass instead. Or something. But,
put it all up there, man.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, it has been a pleasure playing with you guys. It's been a pleasure playing with all of the Age of Strife cast. But I think it is time to call it a day.
Yep.
All right. Any last words before we end it out for good?
I mean,
damn you, Luther.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's been incredible playing this campaign. I've had a really good time. Thanks everybody for watching. I know this isn't Hardcore Heroes, but I love this show, and it was fun playing.
No Hardcore Heroes, but it's great. It has so many things that Hardcore Heroes doesn't have. Really have enjoyed the family aspect and the devotion to one area in particular. It's been really great.
Yeah.
Tyler, any last words? Or any last questions?
No. I had a lot of fun playing Arthur. It was a little tough at the beginning just to be the squire, but just as we were getting some character development.
I know.
Yeah.
There's going to be it's going to have a big whole confrontation with Luther about how he needs to, not do evil things and all of that.
Luther would have been like, maybe you should do evil things instead. It would have been fun.
There's going to be a touching scene in the crypts where Arthur had just stolen the horn and was just saying sorry to Ginger for screwing over her brother. It was...
Oh.
We missed it all.
Oh.
And Luther didn't even get to die and meet his family by the beach or whatever it was. Luther's just stuck in prison.
Oh, yeah.
I guess I could always kill myself with lockpicks, but Luther would.
Oh, God. It's not a great way to go about it.
No.
The journals were indeed spellbooks of that crazy person up there, and had you continued working at it, I totally was down for you to pick together some magic.
I was going to do it too. I was just going to get my read languages all the way up to 95.
It was going to work, man. That plan was going to work.
You
could have taught yourself magic.
No. This might be the last campaign with read languages in it too.
Oh, yeah. It's a thief rebuild.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, everyone, Age of Strife has been such a blast. It's been so much fun that we've played 3 campaigns with the same setting. That's how much fun it is. Well, there was the one like a year and a half ago, the Age of Strife.
Yeah. I remember.
0.
I went a little bit of that. But
Yeah, the 5th edition one.
yeah.
And that was great. And then I think these two, don't tell those guys because they're big streamers and all, but I think these two have been way more fun. The attention to detail and character development, I really appreciate. So yeah, it's been an Age of Strife, guys. We will see you in the future, and hopefully we'll see Tyler and Patrick around for some more other stuff.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, I'm definitely around.
Okay. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, Age of Strife. Play the intro one more time.
From the ashes of the old world, in the shadows of the last great war, the world was shattered by magic. Plains became deserts. Mountains crumbled into the sea. Witches and heretics are burned in the street, lined with oathbreakers hung by their necks. Where once was law, order, empire, now only hardship and savagery remain. To the east, in Highport, a weary king rules an ungrateful people. To the west, his brother keeps swords sheathed and words of rebellion at bay. To the north and south, savage elves and cowardly dwarves openly practice arcane arts, shrouded by leaf and stone. In a time when a man's worth is measured by his word, when might makes right, and a quick death is a mercy, only those more foolish than brave venture far from home. The age of peace and prosperity has ended. In its place, only strife